Hi, this is Alexandra with CJ's Elite Custom Competition Suits and Glam Competition Jewelry. We carry posing suits for men and women, both amateurs and pros. We carry bikini, fitness, figure, bodybuilding, and also men's classic physique shorts. We're doing a Black Friday sale. All of our suits are 50% off. Check us out online.
You're looking for the best? Look no further. Pride Nutrition, the highest quality supplement line in the industry. Today only, use the discount code MMR30 and receive 30% off and a free shaker cup to the first 50 orders.
Hey everybody, Mandus Buckle from Midwest Muscle Report back here with the one and only Peter McGough. Peter, this weekend, as I was walking around and talking to a lot of the athletes, and even some of my own athletes that are in different divisions, I find now that a lot of the bikini athletes and classic physique athletes and men physique athletes don't know a lot about the history of the sport. The talk is about, I want to get my pro card, I'm nationally qualified. Some of them don't even know who Dorian Yates is or who you are. And what I tell them is, well, you
I don't know who I am.
You tend to be humble when we talk about you, but the truth is you are one of the pioneers of our sport. Back when you started, there was no internet. If there's a competition and nobody's talking about it and nobody's writing about it, did the competition really ever happen?
Well, you bring up an interesting point. I mean, when I started out, what we did have was magazines. That was the only channel you had.
Right.
So, you know, you say newer competitors don't realize the history. Magazines have changed now by what they're showing, but back in those days, it would cover the current scene, but then it would talk about the past. So you would read that. Now, I think you go on the internet, you go on what interests you. An internet site isn't like a magazine where you turn a page, oh, I wonder what that's about. You know, you pick and choose because there's so much, you can't read it all, so you're very selective in what you read. Now, you know, I think it would be great if they learned about the history of the sport.
Absolutely.
But I'm not, even though I'm, you know, the old guy and, you know, whatever, I don't berate them for that. That's just the way life's gone on. I mean, I think today people are so busy, got so many channels to look at in terms of internet sites and 24/7, that there's too much coming at them.
Yeah.
In my day, you would buy a bodybuilding magazine, and that was your bodybuilding world for the month.
Yeah.
And you might read it 2 or 3 times, and it would sink in. And there was a continuation to it, how it built. You know, from month to month, we're doing a series on this, part 1, part whatever. With the internet, it's boom, boom, but it comes flying at you from all. So you can't always compartmentalize it and file it in your brain so clear. And that's general, not just bodybuilding and fitness.
But most great champions, be it any sport, people think that they're just great athletes, and usually when you sit down and talk to them, you find that they're a lot more intellectual than what they put out there in their sport. To become a great champion, you can't just be a physical specimen. You've done a lot of homework within your particular sport. You've done a lot of studying. You've had some pros and cons, some ups and downs, and you generally find they know quite a bit about not only what's going on today, but what's happened in the past. Again, knowing who one of the pioneers is, knowing who an 8-time Olympia champion is, you don't really have to do a ton of homework to really understand those things. And I think part of that is also this current era of instant gratification. So now we talked about, earlier in the last segment, we talked about 2 pro cards now in every division. And you know, you touched on the fact that, when each division comes out, you need to feed the pro ranks. But do you need to keep giving out so many pro cards? Well, now you create a generation of, wow, I didn't place in the top 5 in my first national show.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't turn pro after 2 shows. What's wrong with my coach, or what's wrong with the judging?
Yeah.
That starts to change the mentality of the athletes as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how healthy that is.
Well, there are good coaches, great coaches, and there are coaches. And I think if you go back to I've been lucky enough to interview all 13 Mr. Olympias, and almost without exception, obviously the genetics were the physique.
Yes.
But it's here that drove them.
Right.
They were all tougher up here than you think of Arnold, you think of Zane, you think of Lee Haney, Dorian, Ronnie, Phil Heath, he's driven.
Absolutely.
These guys, that's what always alerts me to, can this guy be a champion or not? Not just the physique, but sitting down and talking to them, seeing that they've got it balanced. And you're quite right. You can talk to Phil Heath, he's the modern day Mr. Olympia. He'll tell you about Franco Colombo back in the 70s. He's done his homework,
Absolutely.
But I think we drifted away from the question. Well,
I think the other divisions now,
Yeah.
granted, you may be a men's physique pro, and you say, well, why do I need to know who was the 8-time Mr. Olympia? Well, it's the top of the food chain in your sport.
Yeah.
If you're a basketball player today in the NBA, you know who Michael Jordan is.
Yeah.
If you're a baseball player, you know who Babe Ruth is.
Yeah.
Should be the same in our sport.
Yeah, and again, I think it comes back to the fact that magazines are not as powerful as they used to be. That you would get all your information consolidated, edited, pre-programmed for you by somebody who was determining the message they were trying to send out, the complete message. Whereas you go on this site, you get this, you go on that site, you get that, you get that. But yeah, it would be great, and I think, in the other divisions, they might be amazed at how great this sport is, and the people who built it, the things they had to go through when there was nothing in it for them. They didn't even get a picture in a magazine or a website or whatever. They just did it because that's what they wanted to do, and it was a really special club that they were in.
Right.
So I mean, if that could be enhanced in some way to bring back the history, I'm all for it, and to teach people. And in fact, today, Lee Haney's going to be talking about this. He's got a seminar. We're at the Nationals at the moment. He's going to talk about how we had this conversation this morning, how important the history is.
How ironic.
Yeah.
How ironic.
You're always ahead of the game, man.
Slightly. It's I get smarter the more I hang out with you, Peter. I think that the Manions are really doing a fantastic job moving this sport ahead, with Mr. Manion really spearheading things, and JM covering the scene and really having his ear and his finger to the grindstone of knowing what's going on. And now that Tyler is graduated and he's kind of coming onto the fold. So it really looks like our sport is in great hands.
Right.
Not only now, but for the future.
Sure.
With these divisions. We'll talk about men's physique for a minute. There's something happening there's a lot of men's physique competitors who are getting bigger and bigger, but still very aesthetically pleasing. What's happening from someone who's 190, 185, 190, 200, men's physique, really aesthetic, to all of a sudden becoming a bodybuilder, and the shape disappears? Do you think it's the excessive leg training? Do you think it's the amount of food you need to consume to become 230, 240 pounds? Do you think it's the enhancement that they're taking to get to this size? Because again, we'll go back to, all of a sudden we're losing a lot of shape in a lot of bodybuilders, but you look at a men's physique division and you go, wow, they may not be huge, but they're extremely aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Where are we missing from one to the other?
Well, I think there's two parts to this. If we went back 3 or 4 years for the men's physique, it's exploded in numbers, but also the physiques are so much better. They're so much more like bodybuilders.
Right.
Unfortunately, this is what happens in bodybuilding. If you think of the women's division, we had women's bodybuilding back in the 80s.
Yeah.
That was all there was. oh, it's getting a bit extreme. Let's bring in fitness. Oh, that'll cover the feminine side. Oops, the fitness girls are getting too. Let's bring in the figure. You know, so then the figure girls start. Well, let's bring in the bikini. You know, so this is happening with men's physique. I see some of those guys. I think they might have been disqualified 2 or 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
Why? I think making that sort of transition from, say, men's physique to bodybuilding, if a guy does that, it's something to do with the mindset. You know, the men's physique is to look sleek, crisp, deep abs, wide shoulders, narrow waist. I've got to get big. You know,
right?
So the volume goes, and the eating. You know, Arnold was 6'1" and came in at 240, but he never ate anything like normal guys. It's become almost an eating contest, you know.
It is.
And well, I got to eat 6 meals. I got to do this. I got to do that. And you know, I also think we should ban the phrase off season because it's like, yeah, you can eat what the hell you like for
right.
9 months of a year.
It's an excuse to get fat.
Yeah. So you get fat, you blow up to 260. I'll take 30 off. Get to 230. Actually, you should have come down to 210. You should never have gone up to 260. Right. You know, and it becomes that off season should be the building season. That's right. When you make your gains, and the contest prep is when you shape it down and refine it. You're not going to make size gains during the contest prep season, but you're going to bring everything out, bring out the separation. So we've got into this eating contest complex that I'm a bodybuilder, so I have to walk around with my Tupperware with all the chicken in it.
Absolutely.
And I have to sit in the hotel foyer. Why they sit in the hotel foyer eating it, I do not know. Why can't they go to the bloody rooms?
Right.
No, yeah. But anyway.
They want everyone to see them eating.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a competitor.
Right.
You know, yeah.
The jug of water and the food. That's it.
What used to make me laugh is when at Olympia press conference, members of the audience would be invited up to stand at a microphone and ask a question, and you had a guy who'd walk up with his jug of water, like he couldn't do without the water for 3 minutes.
Right.
You know? Otherwise, 10 years of training would be destroyed in that 2 minutes.
Oh, gosh. You know, I think there's something to be said, too, that men's physique division is so popular that when they came out with the classic to bridge the gap, we'll use just 1 or 2 names just as an example. 2 years past, a competitor named Brandon Hendrickson, he went out and did the New York Pro. And when he went out there, the reviews were, this guy could have gotten into the 212 division. Yeah. Now, I happen to personally know what Brandon weighed when he went to the New York Pro.
Yeah.
He was about 180 pounds.
Right.
And it was just how full he was able to get. Big, round muscle bellies. Andre Ferguson is another men's physique competitor where he needs to watch. If he gets too much bigger, he's going to need to transition. But they're still both extremely aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
So this coming out with the classic physique division, I think was probably one of the best things they've done since bikini and men's physique came out. Do you see classic physique at some point becoming the biggest and most popular division?
It's a good question, and it's more interesting if we went back 10 years. In the magazine business, I know that of the readers of a magazine, 90% of them would rather look like a classic physique guy than a top-line Olympian. They admire the Olympian, but I don't want to look like that. I don't want to do what he has to do.
Right.
That's what I want to look like. And that will sell covers. Those physiques, you've got to, cater to the whole audience. All research that we ever did shows that of the readership of a bodybuilding magazine, only 5 or 10% of those guys would ever compete. They'd fill in, I'll compete, then they find it's too, and they wonder, honestly, the other guys, the other 8, do the math for 90% to 95%. They just want to know how to get bigger and better. They don't want to go through the extreme, dieting, and they can't you know, sleep for 2 hours in the afternoon and all this, and eat 6 times a day and all that.
It's not realistic for most people.
And although, you know, back in the day, Arnold was the top bodybuilder, and people would say, yeah, I'd like to look like him, Frank Zane, it's attainable. I'm not sure, well, I know, they don't want to look like some of the guys today. You know, not picking on you, Big Ramy, he's the 8th wonder of the world, and people will go to see him, but they don't really want to look like that in everyday life and walk around like that 365 days a year.
But therein lies, most people would look at a Brandon Hendrickson and say, wow, that is the prettiest physique. I would die to look like that.
Yeah.
But they prefer to pay money to go to what they'd call the freak show.
Yeah.
They want to see Big Ramy. They say, my God, I've never seen a man like that. So how is it you say, everyone says, well, I want to look like this person. I admire the aesthetics of this person, but I'm going to pay. It's like going to a circus to them.
Yeah, yeah. But it is, you know, the numbers are reducing. You know, I mean, whether we like it or not. If you look at the number of people that are, the Olympia is different. The Olympia is like this annual jamboree of all things muscle. It's Vegas, everybody's there. But you attend the other pro shows throughout the year.
Correct.
The numbers are going down. The interest is going down. The number of hits on the web are going down. I mean, I would, if I was 20 years younger and things were still the same with the magazines, you'd see the classic physique guys getting the coverage, you know, and encourage the men's physique guys, you know, because that, you know, let's be honest, the men's physique guys in the street, whether they admit it, I wouldn't mind looking like that.
Absolutely.
And the girls love the way they look.
Absolutely.
The girls don't always love the top Olympians.
No.
And the guys don't want to look like the top Olympians.
Right.
So there's the lesson, you know, there's your mainstream audience. That's what they want. How did that guy get to look like that? I need to know that.
Right. Now, they had their annual meeting on Thursday. And one of the things that they announced is that for the IFBB League, the classic physique division is now going up 5 pounds. Fantastic. It's still going to be aesthetically pleasing, but you're actually able to put on a little bit more muscle.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I thought that the NPC was going to go up 5 pounds automatically as well, and it didn't. This division could really turn into something. Do you think you're going to see more bodybuilders come down, or more people who were attempting to be bodybuilders come down, or more men's physique move up?
I think it's going to be, the transition is going to be upwards. I don't think we're going to see, I mean, Darren Charles, I know, went from pro bodybuilder to classic. Danny Hester to a little bit, but they were classic bodybuilders in their own right before the phrase came in. I think it's more likely to be that guys get into bodybuilding men's physique and think, that's as far as I want to go. I don't think we're going to see Big Ramy trying to get down in a pair of board shorts anytime soon.
You'd have to chop off one leg and put him on a stage.
Yeah, you'd have to put a tent
to
on
make
him.
weight. Yeah. You know, there is still a big difference, though. I know a lot of men's physique competitors who think, well, I'll just switch to classic when I want.
Yeah.
The reality is, yes, they look really good. Yes, they're aesthetically pleasing. Yes, they're getting bigger. But there's still a huge differential in the amount of dense, mature muscle you pack on from one to the other. And then, of course, the leg training. And as much as they claim they train legs, it's still nowhere near to the point of where a quote-unquote bodybuilder or now a real classic physique competitor is. So I think a lot of these guys are going to be in for a rude awakening.
Hi, this is Alexandra with CJ's Elite Custom Competition Suits and Glam Competition Jewelry. We carry posing suits for men and women, both amateurs and pros. We carry bikini, fitness, figure, bodybuilding, and also men's classic physique shorts. We're doing a Black Friday sale. All of our suits are 50% off. Check us out online.